Hokage married Kushina and became Naruto's father. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 21. When it was time to eat at night, there were no outsiders, and Uzumaki Mito said, Yokaide, don't take that risk next time. Notify Grandma Mito as soon as possible, you know? With me, no one dares to bully you. Joshinai next to him also nodded sharply. Ye Feng smiled and said, it's okay, old lady. Joshinai glared at Ye Feng and said, call Grandma Mito. Alright, Grandma Mito. Uzumaki Mito looked at Yokaide with a loving expression. Ye Feng has always had a question. Have the Thousand Hands clan and the Vortex clan been exterminated in the end? Who is the Black Hand? Uzumaki Mito pondered and said, Ye Feng, the other descendants of the Senju clan are not particularly prominent, and the entire family has not inherited the blood succession limit. So they all spread out and set up their own portals, and do not live together in the name of the Senju clan. Ye Feng groaned and said, did the Thousand Hands clan fall like this? Uzumaki Mito's heart ached, and he nodded. Recalling her grandson, the Thousand Hands rope tree, if he hadn't died, he would have been as big as the night maple in front of him. It's all fate. The Thousand Hands clan led by the pillars and the pillars to the peak. After the peak, there is an inevitable landslide. It happened that there was a war, and the Senju clan, as a race that had produced 2 generations of Hokage, should naturally fight on the front line. Konoha wins the war, while the Senju clan weakens. So the more the people of the Thousand Hands tribe died, even the rope tree was led out of the village. Now it seems that there is really a problem with the high-level people such as Danzo, Mito Minyen, and Koharu, who have inherited the will of Konoha fire by the 2nd generation. This topic was too heavy, and Uzumaki Mito smiled and said, actually, whether it is the Senju clan or the Uzumaki clan, there are still some clansmen who are already married. Young people, they all like new things, they don't like to live with an old man like me, and it's normal to go out and set up their own doors. Saying that, Uzumaki Mito looked at Joshinai and said, I don't know when we Joshinai will leave my old man. Grandma Mito, Joshina has been serving you all her life, and she will never leave. Uzumaki Mito smiled and said, nonsense, it will rain in the sky, and the woman will marry. This is the natural truth of heaven and earth, right, Yokaide? Joshinai's face suddenly became a little hot. Grandma Mito is so bad. Ye Feng smiled, looking at Joshinai's shy look, and couldn't help but tease. The old lady is right. That's a natural thing in heaven and earth. Uzumaki Mito nodded with satisfaction and said, yes, back then, when I was a girl, I went to the battlefield with my family's mission, met the old man, accidentally became a family, and later founded Konoha. So, Ye Feng, the ancients said that to start a family, you first start a family, and then you start a business. Uzumaki Mito pointed thoughtfully, looking at the night maple. If you can match Ye Feng and Joshinai and have another child, no, give birth to 2 or 3 children, then the bloodline of the Thousand Hands clan and the Uzumaki clan can continue. Moreover, Ye Feng is too lazy, too devoid of fighting spirit, and has no hard work. Young people are like this. As long as they start a family, they will naturally be sensible. Joshinai's face immediately turned red, delicate, and he didn't dare to look at Ye Feng when he looked down. Uzumaki Mito smiled and said, eat, eat. There is no need to rush this matter. As long as the two have been together for a long time, it is naturally not a problem. From the next day, the atmosphere in Konoha village became different from usual. There are a large number of masked ninjas appearing on the streets, not knowing what they are looking upon. Listening to Uzumaki Mito, these people are all dark parts, and the roots that attacked Night Maple before were different. It should be a matter of tracing the regiment and the roots. At this time, Ye Feng was in the small courtyard of the whirlpool, watching the whirlpool Mito teach Joshinai various sealing techniques, all of which were the secrets of the Whirlpool family. Among them is the Een seal. Yokaide listened to the explanation of Uzumaki Mito next to him, just like the knowledge that the system empowerment put into his head, and even the knowledge of the empowerment was not detailed. After all, human answers are error-free. Joshinai tried for a day, and finally found a clue, and began to have a small dot on his forehead that was almost invisible. Uzumaki Mito said with satisfaction, very good, Kushina, you are really a ninjutsu genius, and Tsunade did not learn as fast as you back then. Joshinai looked at Ye Feng happily. He can also help Ye Feng in the future, instead of every time Ye Feng comes to the rescue. However, Joshinai turned his head and was stunned. On Ye Feng's forehead, a diamond-shaped mark appeared, which was clearly visible. This, Uzumaki Mito also exhaled softly. Yokaide, when did you learn the Een seal? Ye Feng scratched his head and said, I also saw that you were demonstrating, and I felt something, so I used it. Genius, really genius. You have the blood succession boundary between the pillars, and you also have the talent for ninjutsu between the pillars? Joshinai was also looking at Ye Feng sharply, and his eyes flashed. He is strong, but Ye Feng is stronger. He really is a man who can make his dreams come true. Uzumaki Mito sighed and said, I originally thought that I wouldn't have to teach you the next sealing technique so quickly, but your learning speed is too fast, and next, I will teach you the secret technique of our Uzumaki clan, the 4-elephant seal. The 4-elephant seal, used when used to seal powerful enemies or demons, is a sealing technique that uses the cycle of the 4 elephants to seal off evil. Ye Feng was embarrassed. The Een seal was taught to him by the system, and now he had to learn the 4-elephant seal. Wouldn't it be Dewey? The name of his own genius. It has not been a day to wood. For this reason, Ye Feng felt a little sadness. Ding, based on the situation the host is in now, give a choice. Choose one, study hard, go up every day, reward, a level sealing technique, 4 elephant seals. Option 2, go home and sleep, be a salted fish, reward, a level ninjutsu, the art of distant glasses. Option 3, refuse the teachings of Uzumaki Mito, be a student next to you, and reward, a level sealing, 4 elephant sealing, S-level advanced sealing, ghoul sealing. Episode 22, Grandma Mito, you can teach Joshinai, I'll rest for a while. Saying that, Ye Feng jumped onto the tree next to him. Uzumaki Mito said very ironcladly, Ye kid, you can't be so proud and complacent. There will be no one who will not learn. Well, Grandma Mito, I'll just watch from the side. Kushina snorted and said, okay, Grandma Mito, I don't believe it, he can learn it just by looking at it. Uzumaki Mito glanced at Ye kid, and also felt that he should give Ye kid a little blow. People who are proud and complacent have no future. What's more, Joshinai's talent is also not low. Just let Joshinai knock on the night maple for a while. Thinking of this, Uzumaki Mito also ignored Yokaid, turned his head, and began to teach Joshinai. Ye Feng looked at the A-level sealing technique rewarded by the System 4 elephant seal, and the S-level advanced sealing technique ghoul sealing, and his heart was happy. During the Naka Ninja exam, the 3 generations of Hokage Ape Hibiki used ghouls to seal Orochimaru's hands. During the Nine-Tails Rebellion, Wufeng Shui Man used ghouls to seal half of the Nine-Tails chakra. Now that I have learned the 4 elephant seal and the ghoul seal, and the fusion degree of the character card between the 1000 hand pillars is 100%, can I seal a Nine-Tail play? Open the properties panel. Name, Ye Feng. Strength, Quasi-Shadow. Position, Shinobu. Character card, SSS level Senju pillar. Fusion degree 25.01%. Blood succession boundary, God level Muduan. Character card comes with it. Ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God Art LV3, Dirt Rebirth LV3, Thunder Thousand Birds LV3, Omorioka LV3, Een Seal LV1, for Elephant Seal LV1, Ghoul Seal LV1. Ye Feng saw that the fusion degree had increased to 25%, and now his strength had finally reached the quasi-shadow level. The previous strength should also be at the level of Konoha's 3 shinobi, but the strength still shows the elite shinobi. Recall that the division of strength in Hokage is indeed very mysterious. Konoha San Ninja is an elite upper shinobi, and Konoha Maru is also an elite upper shinobi when he grows up. Do you dare to believe it? In this way, Ye Feng quietly watched Uzumaki Mito teach Joshinai, staying in the Uzumaki small courtyardly, closed doors. Uzumaki Mito also said that in the past few days, Konoha is not very peaceful, so let Ye Feng not go out. However, a few days passed, and Ye Feng did not go out, but someone came again. Old lady, someone outside is looking for Joshinai. Joshinai was stunned for a moment and asked, who? It's Uchiha Mikoto, of the Uchiha family. Uzumaki Mito smiled and said, it's Mikoto, bring her in. Joshinai, take a break, the 4 elephant seal is a little more difficult, don't worry. Joshinai wiped the fragrant sweat on his forehead and nodded. My wife will not participate in your young people's parties. With that, Uzumaki Mito left. After a while, Mikoto Uchiha came in. When the girlfriends met, they naturally hugged and played for a while with joy. Then Mikoto Uchiha looked around curiously. What about Night Maple? I heard that he came in and lived. Kushina looked above Uchiha Mikoto and said, right behind you. Back? Mikoto Uchiha turned her head and saw a tree, looked up. What are you doing up there? Ye Feng smiled and said, rest. Weird. Uchiha Mikoto snorted, ignored Yokaid, pulled Joshina aside, and whispered to Joshinai again. Ye Feng's ears moved, and he naturally heard it. The strength of the quasi-shadow level. It's not that he wants to eavesdrop, it's that the 2 girls' voices are a little loud. Hey, Joshinai, I heard that you were going to marry Ye Feng, right? This? Something yet? Not yet, gee, that's fast. When will you give out candy? Joshinai secretly looked at the night maple on the tree and said shyly, what are you talking nonsense? Then, Joshina also secretly said to Uchiha Mikoto, he's cold, but really handsome. Don't you see, that day he used the tree realm birth and directly destroyed all those Shangnin who attacked us. Hee Joshinai, I heard that you fainted at that time, how do you know? Did you pretend to faint? Joshinai suddenly blushed. No, I fainted at that time and soon woke up, and I didn't faint. Ye Feng snickered, his quasi-shadow level strength would not be mistaken. At that time, Joshinai was hit by illusion, fainted in his arms, and never woke up from the beginning of the battle to the end of the battle. Bragging with girlfriends right now. Sure enough, bragging is a common feature of human beings. The 2 chatted for a while, and Mikoto Uchiha said, Joshinai, you know what? The results of the investigation of the regimental collection and the routes have already come out. Hokage has already ordered, the route is disbanded, the regiment is removed, and the 2 senior advisors are also on vacation. Episode 23. Ye Feng's ears moved slightly, but he didn't expect that Ape Flying Sun Chopping was really a heavy hand this time, and directly disbanded the route organization, and Mito Menyen and Koharu were forced to rest? I really didn't expect that the 3 generations also have such courage. But think about it, the current 3 generations are only 50 years old. Not that the anime was almost 70 years old at that time. Unexpectedly, Tuanzong wanted to him, but he removed himself. Night Feng knew very well that Tuanzong was only temporarily silent this time. This Konoha darkness will not be easily collapsed, just like that. Joshinai was very surprised. Really? Uchiha Makoto whispered in Kushina's ear. These are all things that Fugaku said. Joshina said with a grin, Makoto, are you with brother Fugaku? My parents think so, but I'm still young. And I got married without being in love. Joshinai, you're fine. Saying that, Uchiha Makoto sighed. Joshina immediately took Makoto's hand and said, Makoto, if you don't like it, you can't force yourself to do something you don't like. Joshinai, how can there be such a simple thing? Fugaku, he is ready to be the next head of the family. Don't say that, tomorrow is my birthday, can you come? Joshina nodded sharply and said, Makoto, your birthday party, of course I will come. Right, Night Maple, ding, based on the situation the host is in now, give a choice. Option 1, refuse Makoto's invitation, sleep at home, be a salted fish, reward, intimate paradise, first return limited. Option 2, accept Makoto's invitation to participate in Makoto's birthday party with Kushina, reward, forbidden technique, harem technique. System, you have to do things. Harem art? Are you hinting at something? It's a bit hard to choose. After a while, Joshinai took Yiki's arm and said, Makoto, we will definitely arrive on time tomorrow. In the end, Ye Feng still chose ninjutsu. How could Ye Feng accept something as rotten as heaven of intimacy heaven? At most, let's discuss it with Jiraiya. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the forbidden technique harem technique. Harem art. The combination ninjutsu of multiple shadow avatars, plus seduction. This is Naruto's famous skill. With all the knowledge of the harem art instilled in Ye Feng's mind, Ye Feng immediately knew all the knowledge points of the harem art. Learning the art of harem is equivalent to learning A-level ninjutsu multiple shadow avatar art and C-level ninjutsu seduction. It is equivalent to a packaged ninjutsu combination. The realism of the harem art requires the caster to imagine it realistically. For the caster to imagine realistically, he must use more materials. As the tale of the 10,000-year crane, Naruto, who kissed Sasuke at the beginning, was able to defeat multiple enemies with harem techniques, and even Kaguya was hit, it must be a lot of material. So it can be seen that the young Naruto is also an old driver. Then now that this harem technique has reached his own hands, won't it be passed down by himself? I didn't mean to ask for such a strange spell. Not long after Uchiha Makoto left, Kushina pulled Yokai to tell Uzumaki Mito about going to Uchiha Makoto's birthday party tomorrow. In fact, Ye Feng had already thought that something was wrong. It was Joshinai, a simple violent girl, who had not yet figured out what the situation was, and stupidly agreed. Uchiha's people, invite people from the Uzumaki family to Uchiha's house. Then Yokai, who was considered the last heir of the Senju clan, also followed to Uchiha's house. In the eyes of the other families in Konoha village, this is a big thing worth considering. Does it reveal anything? It may make the heads of various families want to burst their heads. The Senju clan want to unite the Uchiha clan? Everyone remembers the magnificent era when Konoha village was founded. Senju and Uchiha Madara, a pair of legendary characters. Uzumaki Mito sighed when he heard Kushina say that he was going to Uchiha's house to attend Uchiha Makoto's birthday party, and actually nodded. Go, Ye Feng, you also go over. Joshinai, she is alone, I don't worry. Yes, Grandma Mito. Yikid was surprised. Uzumaki Mito actually agreed, and didn't say anything? In fact, Uzumaki Mito had already thought of a lot in the moment just now. At that time, the Senju clan was to avoid suspicion, not only had a bad relationship with the Uchiha family, but also deliberately let many ordinary clansmen set up their own doors and spread out. As a result, the bloodline of the Thousand Hands clan is still becoming scarcer, day by day. The war, as well as the conspiracy, caused the last male members of the Senju family to die. After this rude attack on Night Maple again, Uzumaki Mito had already figured it out. The other families in Konoha village are afraid of the Uchiha family. Aren't they afraid of the Senju family? Uchiha is certainly terrifying, but defeating Uchiha Madara is even more terrifying. It is useless to take the initiative to back down, but to be dealt with more severely. It is better to unite with the Uchiha clan and regain the authority of the Hokage. Uzumaki Mito's observation these days knows that Ye Feng has this strength, and it is easy to solve the route of 10 people alone. Even if it is not as good as the Ape Flying Sun, it is also a top 10 existence in Konoha strength. And Joshinai also has the ability to be a virtuous helper. Therefore, Uzumaki Mito left only one sentence in the end: go early and return early. Episode 24. Ye Feng had just walked out with Joshinai, and was pulled away by Joshinai. What for? Go out and buy a gift for Makoto. We can't go to Uchiha's house empty-handed tomorrow, right? As soon as Ye Feng heard that he wanted to accompany Joshinai to go shopping, He felt uncomfortable. What annoys men the most? Shopping, of course. But Joshinai is very happy. Haven't been out for days. Just now, Mikoto said that those bad guys at the top, the removal of the dismissal, the rest, are no longer afraid. She also asked Grandma Mito, who also said it was no problem. Therefore, whether Ye Feng was satisfied or not, Joshinai pulled Ye Feng out. Ye Feng and Joshinai were walking on the street when they happened to run into a group of people. The person headed by this team of centaurs is Tuanzong. The two people next to him turned out to be Mu Shuamao, the white fan banner of Konoha, and the wave Feng Shui gate. Tuanzong also saw Ye Feng, glanced at it, and then took his gaze back, without any expression on his face. Seeing that they were about to walk by, Ye Feng hurriedly pulled the wave Feng Shui gate. Hey, what's going on? The Feng Shui man gave Ye Feng a blank look. Confidential tasks, I can't tell you. Really don't say? Can't say. Naruto-sama is watching. Ye Feng looked around, although he didn't see the crow this time. He did feel that someone was snooping. This old man who likes to peek. Ye Feng still let go of the Watergate and let him go. When Watergate came back, Chimu Shuamao said, Watergate, you are very familiar with him? The same one. He's strong. Watergate nodded sharply. Yes, I was going to find him again this week to single out and decide the winner again, but I didn't expect the task to come. You are no match for him. Watergate said helplessly, Senior Shuamao, don't you hit me like this, okay? White Fang Shuamao shook his head and said, it's not to hit you. I think his strength may be stronger than mine. Watergate's eyes widened in disbelief. Joshinai asked curiously, where are they going? That guy from Watergate refuses to say, so mysterious. How about we follow along? Joshinai refused. What's so beautiful? Let's go. We still have to order cakes and buy gifts. Well, I don't want to go shopping. Ye Feng's objection was invalid, and Jioshina took Iki to several cake shops throughout Konoha village, and finally ordered the cake. The monetary unit in the Naruto world is 2, and although there are banknotes and coins, they are all calculated using the unit 2. The task remuneration is set to range from 5,000 taels to 50,000 taels for D-level tasks, 30,000 taels for C-level tasks, and 100,000 taels, 80,000 taels to 200,000 taels for B-level tasks, and 150,000 taels to 1 million taels for A-level tasks. S-level tasks pay more than 1 million taels at a time. 1 tael equals 10 round. A pork chop rice set is about 800 yen for an ordinary meal, and it costs more than 1,000 yen for a little more ingredients. A roadside fashion magazine also costs almost 600 yuan. Odin 3 pieces sell for 500 yen, and Joshinai bought this cake this time and spent 10,000 yuan, that is, 1,000 taels. Then I bought another pair of earrings and spent 38,888 rounds. A total of nearly 50,000 yuan, that is, 5,000 taels, is the starting price of D-level tasks. This is a little rich woman. You must know that Ye Feng now only has 1,000 taels in his pocket. This is not long ago. The salary issued by the Ministry of Finance, each subordinate, a basic salary of 1,000 taels a month. If the money is not enough, you can only go to the task. As the saying goes, a penny stumps a hero. This is the case. In order to make money for clam rice, the mist-hidden ghost people, and the ninja knife 7, Momochi has to do things for Cassie if he doesn't cut it. Fortunately, Ye Feng lived in vain in the Uzumaki house, otherwise, he might have to go on a mission. At noon the next day, Uchiha's territory was also the headquarters of the Konoha Guard. The Uchiha clan, one of Konoha's 2 famous blood successors, has been serving as the leader of Konoha's guard since the founding of the village. In the past, the Thousand Hands clan was also among them, and it was the 3 major blood successors. But 20 years have passed, the clansmen of the Senju clan, those who died in battle, and the only self-supporting portal left is Tsunade. Over the years, with the almost extinction of the Senju clan and the lurking of the Hinata clan, the Uchiha clan naturally claimed to be the #1 clan in Konoha. The current Uchiha clan, flowers and brocade, fire and oil, most of the clansmen feel like they are high, and they do not easily interact with people from other families. Of course, today they would not have the slightest contempt for Ye Feng. Ye Feng was born as the last heir of the Thousand Hands clan. It's just that in less than a week, he destroyed the conspiracy of Yunin village, and also removed the high-ranking officials of Shimura Danzo, Mito Menyen, and Xiaochun, but the limelight is flourishing, and there is no other thing. It can be said that Ye Feng's status can be comparable to the current head of the Uchiha family, Uchiha Shina. In terms of strength, Ye Feng awakened the blood succession limit of the Thousand Hands family, and defeated the 10 people of the root with 1 person, which was stronger than anyone in the Uchiha clan. So, today, the young generation of talents of the Uchiha family, Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Mikoto are all waiting at the door for the arrival of Yokaide. Ye Feng and Joshinai also took the cake and gifts on time, came to Uchiha's house, saw Uchiha Mikoto at the door, and immediately hurried up to greet them. Mikoto, happy birthday, this is the birthday cake that Yokaide and I prepared, and a birthday present. There wasn't enough time, so it wasn't done well. Joshinai, thank you, I'm very happy to be here. Good-looking cake. what beautiful earrings. Uchiha Mikoto took it out directly and put it on, and said, Joshinai, does it look good? Joshinai asked Ye Feng, is it good looking? I'll go. It's a sending proposition. I'm blind and don't know if it's pretty or not. Uchiha Mikoto and Kushina immediately snorted. Ding, Joshinai has a good feeling value of +5. Ding, Mikoto Uchiha has a good feeling value of +10. System, you are trying to do something. I didn't say anything. Why did Uchiha Mikoto's favorability value rub +10 again? Episode 25. Yokaide and Kushina attended Uchiha Mikoto's birthday banquet, and all the big families in Konoha knew about it for the first time. What do the Uchiha clans want to do? What do the Senju clan and the Whirlpool clan think? All the families are watching, speculating and interpreting today's events, this information. This glass of wine, I will drink it first. Thank you too for coming to the little girl's birthday party. The person who raised the glass was none other than Mikoto Uchiha's father and one of the high-ranking members of the Uchiha clan. The graceful and luxurious woman next to her is Mikoto Uchiha's mother. Everyone raised their glasses at the same time, echoed a sentence, and drank all the wine in the glass. In addition to Uchiha Mikoto and her parents, as well as Yokaide and Kushina, there is Uchiha Fugaku, a young talent of the Uchiha family. It seems that the Uchiha clan also wants to match Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Mikoto. Uchiha Fugaku, young and already a captain of the guard, will inherit the position of head of the family in the near future. Mikoto Uchiha's parents soon left. Night Maple also managed to Amway the big talk dice, ending the boring drinking session in the Hokage world. Soon, everyone was hooked. Dice must have the skill and courage to lie, but also have a clear vision and a variety of strategies. Kaminobi, like Uchiha Fugaku, who has been out of society for many years, thinks that big talk is too fun. Stimulate. 6-6 Fly. 12 SIXS. Chop you. The atmosphere gradually warmed up, and he blushed. Uchiha Fugaku also chatted with Ye Feng without saying a word. Yikid-kun, you said that day that among the 10 people in the roots, there are people from the Uchiha clan? Ye Feng nodded and said, yes, I saw the Sharingan, what's wrong? Uchiha Fugaku said softly, fortunately, it was Yokaide-kun who told us the truth, otherwise we might still be in the dark now. Huh? It's not a secret, in our Uchiha clan, no one has joined the roots, even if it is the dark department, there are only 1 or 2 people, and there are records in our clan. When Ye Feng heard Uchiha Fugaku's words, he suddenly became a little curious. You mean? Uchiha Fugaku looked at Ye Feng and said, that is to say, that person is not from our Uchiha clan. It's fun. Uchiha Fugaku nodded, and it was his turn to call. 12-3. Uchiha Mikoto suddenly smiled and said, split. Counter-split. Opened 5 threes. Uchiha Fugaku himself 5. Everyone else is big talk. Uchiha Fugaku smiled and didn't care. After drinking, while shaking the dice, he said, yes, it's fun this time. Our patriarch has gone to negotiate with the 3 generations of Hokage. I heard that it is a monster made from the blood of our Uchiha clan. I heard that it is the only surviving experimental subject, which has been hidden in the root. If it weren't for the discovery of Night Maple June this time, we wouldn't have known. It's a blasphemy against our Uchiha family. Thank you Yikid-kun, for eradicating this evil experimental subject for our Uchiha clan. Ye Feng's eyes widened. It turned out that there was something he didn't know. Clones of the Uchiha clan? Yokaide immediately remembered Yamato, who was the experimental subject of the first generation of cells. Then, the Sharingan that he killed should not be the experimental subject of Uchiha Spot. Sure enough, there are still many deep things in the Naruto anime that are not directly expressed. Although I know the general historical trend, I still don't know many secrets. For example, this Uchiha experimental subject, if it weren't for Ye Feng killing him, might be buried in history and never emerge. Now Uchiha Fugaku thanks himself, which is also to express the goodwill of the Uchiha family. Don't look at the current appearance of the Uchiha family. I am afraid that the family head knows very well that after the peak, it will inevitably decline. If he could win an ally like Ye Feng, it would be great. After 3 rounds of drinking, Uchiha Fugaku said more. I don't know if Uchiha Fugaku was fake drunk or really drunk, and even told the secret about the final disposal of Root and Danzo. That Uchiha experimental body was secretly created by Tuanzang with the funds of the Great Snake Pill, and now all the experiments of the Great Snake Pill have stopped. In addition, Tuanzang did such a thing that people and gods are angry about. This time he will go to Yunin village as an undercover agent, make up for the merit, and if he has not made great achievements, he will not come back. With a smile on Uchiha Fugaku's face, he fell directly as he spoke. Ye Feng saw that he was really drunk. No wonder he said everything. These should be confidential. Come, drink. Joshinai blushed and was particularly good-looking. Uchiha Mikoto also hugged Yokaide's thigh. Drink. Drink your size. Episode 26. Ye Feng was crying and laughing, and quickly pulled the 2 apart. Drink. Joshinai was still holding her cup, and Ye Feng directly took her cup. What the hell, I want to drink. Stop drinking, go home. Yokai directly picked up Kushina, took 2 steps, turned around and kicked Uchiha Fugaku, who was drunk and wanted to pounce on Uchiha Makoto, away. Still want to get drunk and do something? Ye Feng glanced at the half-awake and half-drunk Uchiha Makoto, shook his head helplessly, and pulled away together, leaving behind Uchiha Fugaku, who was holding the air on the ground, just walked out and happened to run into Makoto, Uchiha's father, so Makoto handed over safely. Then, Ye Feng hugged Jyoshina and left the territory of the Uchiha clan. Under the moonlight, Jyoshina said in a daze, "Night Maple, 5-6. Ye Feng suddenly rolled his eyes, as if he saw the birth of another gambling monster. In Konoha, another gambling monster is, of course, the famous Tsunade. "Hey, Jiraiya, do you want to go to the hot spring?" At this time a hearty woman's voice came from ahead. Ye Feng followed the voice and was stunned. "Isn't this Tsunade?" The white-haired man next to him, Jiraiya? Although Yorikid had never seen Tsunade and Jiraiya, he recognized them at a glance. The main thing is that the white hair of Jiraiya is more conspicuous. Zilai also said with a righteous look, "No need, let's go to the teacher's side to report first, don't grind. I really don't want to soak in the hot spring, you can relieve fatigue. I heard that this place is very popular with girls, and it has been changed to mixed baths." As soon as Jiraiya heard about the mixed bath, he immediately walked towards the hot spring. "Oh, people need to relax occasionally, go for a hot spring. Haha, you didn't say that just now." Tsunade smiled wickedly and turned his head to see that he was facing Yokaid's eyes. "This is Jyoshina? So late, Jyoshina seems to be drunk. This man actually took the opportunity to get oil? It's just looking for death. You bastard, you dare to do such a thing to Jyoshina, looking for death." Tsunade's whole body erupted with golden chakra and rushed towards Yokaid. Huh? Yikid was a little confused. What did Tsunade want to do? Mudu and Mu ingot wall. Before Tsunade's fist smashed, a row of wooden pillars bent from the ground to form arches, blocking Yokaid's face. Bang, a bang, the ground trembled. Tsunade's fist burst out with the light of chakra, which had already pierced the wall of the wooden ingot. In the Hokage office, Sarutobi Hinata was waiting for Tsunade and Jiraiya to come back and report, but when he heard this loud noise, he suddenly stood up. What happened again? Konoha has really not been peaceful lately. Ape Flying Sun Chopper quickly took the cloak, jumped out of the window, and sped across the roof, speeding in the direction of the loud noise. And Jiraiya, who was the place of the incident, had just walked into the pond and was startled by the sudden loud noise, and looked back. What about Tsunade? Jiraiya rushed out, only to see Tsunade fighting with a young man. Countless thick roots emerged from the young man's side, blocking Tsunade's attack. Shadow doppelganger? Because there was also a young man in the back who was still holding a red-haired girl. That's Jyoshina. Muduan? For the first time, he already knew that this young man was Ye Feng, who was in the limelight these days. Ku-woo, shuriken shot indiscriminately. Boom. It even shot at Jiraiya. I also heard Tsunade scolding, "Little one, don't let go of Jyoshina yet. We Senju clan have never had a guy as Jiraiya, but you have set a precedent. Lying Groove, why are you pulling me up?" Jiraiya was injured. However, when Jiraiya heard Yikid using various ninjutsu to resist Tsunade's attack, and holding Jyoshina, he still had the strength to refute Tsunade. Hey, you gambling monster, mean to talk about me? If you still do it, don't blame me for being unkind. Oh, little one, it seems that you didn't understand. Come on, let me see how you are not polite. As soon as the words fell, Tsunade punched the shadow doppelganger, and instantly came to Ye Feng's face. However, countless vine-like saplings wrapped around Tsunade's feet, then wrapped around Tsunade's whole body, growing into a large tree, completely crushing Tsunade under the tree. Mu-dun, tree binding eternal burial. Tsunade's eyes widened as well. Bang, the same as a stand-in. Tsunade's figure suddenly appeared behind Yokaid. Not bad. However, before Tsunade could kick a kick, Yokaid's figure disappeared again, and then appeared next to Jiraiya. What a fast, instantaneous technique. Jiraiya's eyes widened. Flying Thunder God technique? Did the teacher teach him? Tsunade also showed a look of surprise. This young man is a little fierce. There is the wooden dun of the first grandfather, and there is the instantaneous technique of the second generation of the second grandfather. And Ye Feng didn't make another move, because someone came. He looked up at the sky, and a golden light shot down. Bang! A Vajraruri stick was inserted into the ground, and a person fell from the air. 3 generations of Hokage, Ape Flying Sun / came. Teacher. Suddenly, a person walked out of the shadows, the big snake pill. 3 generations of Hokage, Konoha Sanshin, gathered in front of the hot spring pond hall. Episode 27. Such a person. Ye Feng broke the silence. Sarutobi said coldly, "Jiraiya, Tsunade, what are you doing here?" Tsunade's eyes moved, and he pointed at Ye Feng and said, "Teacher, this shameless fellow, actually took advantage of the opportunity to get oil when Joshinai was drunk. Fortunately, I found it in time, otherwise, Joshinai would have been miserable. Ye Feng was suddenly speechless, and the thick root vine appeared from the ground again, and Tsunade spoke out again and tied it directly. Ape Fei Richo looked at Ye Feng and said, Ye Feng, what the hell is going on? Joshinai is drunk, if I don't help her go back, will I drag her back? Tsunade, did you ask about the situation? Tsunade immediately shrugged and said, do you need to ask about the situation? Seeing is believing, isn't that it? Ding, according to the environment of the host, give 3 choices. Option 1, choose to forgive Tsunade, accept Tsunade's criticism, reward, a worn shuriken. Option 2, choose to forgive Tsunade, indicating that you let go of defense, reward, sea-level ninjutsu fire escape phoenix flower technique. Option 3, choose mad Tsunade, educate Tsunade well, and obtain S-level ninjutsu 100 hero technique. Originally, Ye Feng couldn't help but scare people. Now the system is even more scaring choices, and the timing is too well controlled. Ye Feng pouted, it's really brainless. Tsunade's eyes widened and he looked at Yokaid. Others were also very surprised. You, what did you say? Tsunade really didn't expect Yokaid to dare to scold her. Don't you have enough brain capacity? I say you have a big chest and no brain. Seeing is believing? If I don't hold her, will I drag her to the ground and drag her back? Do you have problems with your eyes, or do you have problems with your brain? If you have a low IQ, you will be less weird, you know? Well-developed limbs and simple mind. Ye Feng came down in such a series, and everyone was stunned. Tsunade immediately exploded. You look for death. Just as Tsunade burst out, Ye Feng's figure flashed, but it flashed 100 meters away. The flying thunder god mark had long been set there, and it teleported there at once. This time it was the turn of Orochimaru, and Sarutobi/'s eyes widened. This is the flying thunder god technique? Zilai also said strangely, teacher, didn't you teach him? Ape Flying Sun shook his head. The big snake pill's eyes flashed and said, if it weren't for the teacher you taught him, this person would be very suspicious. Ape Flying Sun snorted and said, Big Snake Pill, put away your thoughts, there is something suspicious about the Flying Thunder God technique. It certainly couldn't have been taught to him by people from other villages. You don't put your mind on him, there is no point, take a few days of rest, you will also go out on a mission. Orochimaru yawned and said, got it, sensei. However, the Big Snake Pill thought to himself, how can the task be as interesting as Ye Feng? There will definitely be a chance. Yiki put down Joshinai. A voice suddenly sounded behind Ye Feng, and Ye Feng's back was cold, and his hair stood up. Zilai also exclaimed, be careful. I saw that the Een seal on Tsunade's forehead was unsealed, and streaks appeared on his face, and the stripes were staggered on his forehead, passing vertically through his eyes, and meeting his chin all the time. The art of 100 heroes. Unlocking all the chakras of the Een seal, the whole body erupted with golden chakra light. Being frenzied by Yikid, Tsunade was really angry, suddenly appeared behind Ye Feng and Joshinai, and grabbed Ye Feng's head with one hand. Syllable. Ye Feng's head split open. This guy is too weak. When Tsunade was about to close. However, the next second, he realized that he was only holding a piece of wood, and the Joshinai under his feet also slammed and turned into a piece of wood. Ye Feng appeared 10 meters away holding Joshinai, and under Tsunade's feet, a thick wooden dragon soared into the sky. Ape Fei sighed and said, wood dragon art, I haven't seen it for a long time, I didn't expect to see it here. He was very impressed with the wood dragon art. This huge wooden dragon, which was used in the first generation when the Nine Tails was in turmoil, was bound by the big tree to the body very strongly, and even made the bound Nine Tails scream, and once entangled, it would be absorbed chakra. The first generation used this move to suppress the actions of the Nine Tails. This move seems to have given a strong impression to the Ape Flying Sun. Of course, now this wooden dragon is much smaller. Fine death. Tsunade smashed a punch on the wooden dragon, but was surprised to find that his chakra was actually absorbed by the wooden dragon. With that, wood dragon tied Tsunade up. Something like this can trap me? Tsunade burst out more chakras very confidently. The art of the wooden dragon, but Tsunade's grandfather, the famous stunt between the 1,000-hand pillars. Tsunade naturally knew very well that the easiest way to break the wood dragon art was to use chakra to burst the opponent. If you want to suck me chakra, I'll let you suck enough. Episode 28. Sarutobi also knew for the first time what Tsunade was going to do. He didn't plan to stop Tsunade either. As Hokage, it was not appropriate to strike, but Tsunade was suitable. Besides, Tsunade is also the granddaughter of Uzumaki Mito. It really hurt Yokaid, and Uzumaki Mito couldn't blame himself. Mainly recently, Ye Feng, this young man, is a little swollen. It was remarkable to think that he had awakened the blood succession limit of the 1,000 Hands clan. He even killed 10 people from the roots, causing him to destroy his relatives and send Tuanzang away. It's time for Ye Feng to know what is outside the sky, and there are people outside the people. However, when Tsunade began to erupt chakra, Yokaid's eyes lit up, and he felt that a huge amount of chakra, through the wooden dragon, was transmitted to the ground, and then rushed back into his body. Finally, chakra passed through his feet and rushed straight to the Yin seal of the heavenly gate. Is this charging me? Ye Feng's forehead, the imprint of the Yin seal, also shone brightly. It was just covered by Konoha's forehead and no one found out. Tsunade was still full of confidence, but gradually, her face changed. The Yin seal chakra that he has stored for more than 2 years has already consumed more than half, and this guy still hasn't changed his face? Is something wrong? Ape Fairy Chopper's face also changed slightly, and quickly said loudly, Ye Feng, don't hold it hard, it's not good if you hurt. Ye Feng smiled and said, 3 generations of adults don't worry, I didn't hold it hard, today I just want to see. What confidence do you have? If you don't understand the situation, you dare to make a move casually, even if Grandma Mito comes over today, I will educate you well. Jiu-Shinai heard Ye Feng speak, his long eyelashes moved, opened his eyes slightly, saw several figures, rubbed his eyes, took a closer look, and exclaimed, ah, three generations of adults. This is Tsunade's sister? Jiu-Shinai blew a cold wind, the wine woke up, and when he saw that Yokaide and Tsunade were fighting, he was immediately so anxious that tears were about to come out. Ye Feng, what the hell is going on? Tsunade snorted and said, Jiu-Shinai, just wake up. This guy just took advantage of your drunkenness and wanted to pump you oil. Jiu-Shinai immediately shook his head and said, Sister Tsunade, you must be mistaken, Ye Feng, he will definitely not do this. When Tsunade heard this, he wanted to vomit blood. Chick, don't you turn your arms out like this, okay? Ye Feng smiled and said, did you hear that, Tsunade, you see it as believing? I see you're blind. Jiu-Shinai immediately glared at Ye Feng in dissatisfaction and said, Ye Feng, how are you talking to Tsunade's sister? She didn't say anything just now, she directly wanted to get me, and said, what should I do to you? It doesn't matter if I ruin my reputation, what should I do to ruin your reputation? This guy doesn't have a brain, he has a chest. Tsunade was angry and died of anger, and directly broke out the maximum chakra. However, these chakras are like mud cows going into the sea, entering Night Fang's body, and disappearing completely, and Night Fang's body seems to be a bottomless pit. Now Tsunade is sweating profusely, and it is difficult to ride a tiger. She really didn't expect that Ye Feng would be so difficult. Sarutobi saw Tsunade deflated, and immediately said, Ye Feng, forget it, everyone take a step back. However, Ye Feng did not pay attention to the words of the ape flying sun, but instead Mulan used his strength and directly set up Tsunade's hand. Another thick vine rose up and struck Tsunade's ass. Syllable, crisp audible sound. There was silence. Everyone looked at Ye Feng dumbfounded. Ye Feng said lightly, I don't educate her well now, and if I go out to make trouble in the future, won't it ruin Konoha's reputation, the reputation of Senju, and the reputation of 3 generations? Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing choice 3. Choose the mad Tsunade, educate the Tsunade well, and obtain S-level ninjutsu, the art of 100 heroes. Ye Feng was very satisfied. Tsunade's face was red and dripping blood, and the art of Hyakuheo broke out. With the force of both hands, he directly broke the wooden dragon. Go and die. Tsunade's feet condensed golden chakra, turned into a streamer, and kicked towards Ye Feng. Physical surgery, pain in the feet. As long as you step heavily on the ground, you can collapse and crack. Kick on people, not knowing what will happen. Now Tsunade couldn't take care of it. It was like Ye Feng's instant explosion, to solve the hatred in her heart. Don't. Jiu-Shinai hurriedly blocked in front of Ye Feng. Tsunade's face changed. This kick, she couldn't take it back. Jiu-Shinai, get out of the way. The 3 generations of Hokage and Jiraiya also changed their faces and rushed forward. However, Ye Feng's hand speed was faster, and it instantly froze. And not 1 print, but 3 reprints. At this moment, Tsunade saw 2 black stripes suddenly appear on Yokaide's face, running through his eyes and meeting on his forehead and chin. The art of 100 heroes? Around Tsunade, 3 thick wooden dragons appeared, one after the other, encircling Tsunade layer by layer. Touch. In just an instant, Tsunade lost his vision and slammed heavily on the ground. When Tsunade was smashed on the ground, he was still wondering if he was blinded. Episode 29. Ape Flying Sun Chopper and Zilai were embarrassed to find that Ye Feng didn't seem to need to save himself at all. Isn't it false at all? Ape Fei squinted his eyes, thinking to himself, is Ye Feng already so strong? Stronger than Tsunade? Or is it style? The big snake pill who was watching from the sidelines was even more shocked. And now the strength shown by Ye Feng was far higher than the strength he showed during his temptation a week ago. Now Ye Maple is incredibly strong. Orochimaru even felt that even if he was his own teacher, he could not completely suppress Tsunade so easily. You see, Tsunade is now so trapped on the ground that he can't move at all. At this time Uzumaki Mito suddenly appeared. Ape Fei, what's going on? Then, Uzumaki Mito saw Tsunade bound on the ground, and his eyes widened. Ye Feng, let go of Tsunade, what the hell is going on with you? When Uzumaki Mito appeared, Yokaide lifted the 100 Heroes technique. In fact, the art of the 100 Heroes is similar to the enhancement ninjutsu. Open the 100 How technique, completely unlock the Yin seal, and allow the large amount of chakra stored in the Yin seal to be used freely, thus making it possible to launch large-scale ninjutsu and forbidden arts. And because chakra perfuses the whole body, the strength of physical skills and strange powers will increase. After closing the 100 How technique, the toughness of the wood dragon art naturally weakened. Bang! Tsunade directly shattered the wooden dragon, looking at Ye Feng gritting his teeth. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. She was actually educated by a little guy under 20 years old? Ahem. Tsunade, don't make trouble. Ape Flying Sun Chopper is also speechless. What are you doing to mess with Ye Feng? Uzumaki Mito said lightly, go back. Kushina looked at Hokage, but still ran over to hold Tsunade. Tsunade glared at Kushina. Kushina, you turned your elbows out, and you actually turned towards outsiders. Uzumaki Mito glared at Tsunade. Enough. Get back. Sarutobi coughed and said, Tsunade, you need to go to the office with Jiraiya first. Tsunade glared at Yoritobi, and huffed, and followed the ape flying sun. Halfway through, Jiraiya couldn't help but ask, Tsunade, is that night maple? Ugh. Tsunade roared angrily, and punched Jiraiya in the face. Bang. Zillai also flew out directly upside down. Boom. The house in front of him collapsed directly, and several ninjas suddenly flew out. Enemy attack. Sarutobi glared at Tsunade, then walked up and said, it's okay, it's okay. Ah, Naruto-sama. It's you, Tsunade-sama, Lord Orochimaru. When these ninjas saw the ape flying sun slashing them, they bowed their heads respectfully. Sarutobi asked with concern, are you alright? It's okay, it's okay. Well, I was just taken aback. At this time, there was a groan from the collapsed bricks. Ugh. Zillai also covered his face and climbed out. The ninjas all looked strange. Ape Fairy took out a wad of money speechlessly and said, you guys will first be agreed to stay in a hotel tonight, and tomorrow morning I will ask someone to help you repair it. It's okay, Naruto-sama, we're not in a hurry. There you go. Yes, Naruto-sama. Turning around, Hokage looked at Tsunade coldly and said, repair it here, at least 50,000 taels, remember to go to the finance department to pay in advance. Tsunade snorted and said, no money. On the other side, Hokage and Kushina followed Uzumaki Mito back. Can't you just let Tsunade-san sister? Kushina glared angrily at Ye Feng and said. Ye Feng shrugged, he wanted to let it, but the system didn't give it. Look, now it's like this. I'll come back later, and quickly apologized to Tsunade's sister. Ye Feng ignored it. Apologize what? It's Tsunade who made the move first, educate yourself, isn't it a normal thing? Kushina saw the appearance of Ye Feng's oil and salt not entering, so angry that he reached out to pinch the meat, and then Kushina found that he couldn't pinch it. So hard. Uzumaki Mito was also helpless. Ye kid, how did you guys fight? Ye Feng explained the matter clearly one by one. When Kushina heard this, he immediately blamed himself and said, hey, I drank too much. If I hadn't been drunk, I wouldn't have done this. Uzumaki Mito shook his head and said, it's not your problem, Tsunade is so big and grinning. Then, Uzumaki Mito looked at Ye kid again and said, Ye Feng, when did you learn the Yin Seal and the art of 100 How? Kushina's eyes widened. What? Ye Feng, when did you learn the Yin Seal? Kushina was a little confused and didn't see clearly, but when Uzumaki Mito appeared, he could already see that Hokage had used the 100 How technique to unlock the Yin Seal. At that time, Uzumaki Mito was also very surprised. This is just not said. Episode 30. Ye Feng scratched his head and said, well, it's all learned when you taught Kushina by Grandma Mito. What? Kushina's eyes are about to pop out. Grandma Mito taught me. You are next to salted fish. I didn't learn. You learned? Kushina suddenly felt very heartbroken. Uzumaki Mito was also stunned for a moment, revealing a look of surprise. This kind of comprehension ability, I'm afraid it's not as good as the second generation, right? The Senju family is going to come out of the dragon? But you can't do that to Tsunade. It's really annoying to use vines to hit Tsunade. Ye Feng also ignored it, returned to the small courtyard, and immediately went to take a bath. When I was taking a bath, I suddenly remembered that there was a hot pond in the place just now, which is the most famous hot pond restaurant in Konoha village. Speaking of which, I haven't been to the bath yet. Would you like to take a chance? Ye Feng immediately ran back to his room after washing. Then, the door slammed open. Come in. Kushina's hair came in wet, with a faint fragrance, her skin was white and red, there were a little water droplets, and she looked like she had just taken a bath. Ye Feng was a little confused, it was so late. What did Kushina want to do? Kushina's face turned slightly red, and she said softly, Ye kid, do you want to apologize to Tsunade's sister without waiting? Looking at Kushina's pleading look, Ye Feng's heart softened and said, okay, isn't it just an apology? Ding, according to the environment of the host, give 3 choices. Option 1, choose to apologize to Tsunade, admit your mistake, reward, a broken shuriken. Option 2, choose to forgive Tsunade, indicating that you are not angry at all, reward, a level ninjutsu shuriken shadow avatar art. Option 3, choose mad Tsunade, educate Tsunade well, and get a level ninjutsu shuriken in all directions. Well, the system you are good. Ye kid coughed and said, I think I'm right, but I've forgiven Tsunade, I'm not angry at all, as long as Tsunade doesn't mess with me again. Kushina glared at Ye Feng and said, Ye Feng, Are you apologizing? I'm right, why should I apologize? Joshinai stomped his foot in anger. Suddenly, the door slammed open. Ye Feng and Joshinai were both stupid. Tsunade, who was standing at the door, was also dumbfounded and pointed at Yokaid. You, what are you doing in my room? Joshinai suddenly blushed, and quickly waved his hand and said, Sister Tsunade, we didn't do anything. It's like this, Ye Feng wants to apologize to you. Yokaid was also a little confused. He slept in Tsunade's boudoir before. No wonder there was a special aroma. Apologize? Tsunade looked at Yokaid. Sister Tsunade, I have already forgiven you, and I am not angry at all about today's matter, as long as you don't mess with me again in the future. Well, don't blame me, the system forced me. I don't scare you, you already count me merciful. Congratulations to the host for completing choice 2. Choose to forgive Tsunade, saying that he is not angry at all. Reward, a level ninjutsu shuriken shadow avatar art. Tsunade smiled angrily. Hee, boy, you come out. I don't want to ruin this place, let's go to the training ground to practice. At this time Uzumaki Mito came over. Uzumaki Mito glanced at Tsunade and said, you haven't come back for almost 2 years, will you fight and kill as soon as you come back? Joshinai was in a hurry and looked at Ye Feng. Ye Feng shrugged and said, I said I forgave her. Uzumaki Mito also knew that Ye Feng ate soft and not hard, and sighed and said, okay, Tsunade, don't mess around, Yokaid you too, she is your sister, you just let her. Tsunade was angry. Do I need him to let? Lost a big face in front of so many people today. I didn't expect to try it out and turn out to be like this. Now, his boudoir is still occupied? My own grandmother is still to outsiders. Tsunade was angry, and his whole body chakra erupted. Joshinai hurriedly said, Sister Tsunade, or break your wrist with Ye Feng. Yokaid, you broke your wrist with Tsunade's sister. If you lose, can you apologize to her? Kushina knew that Tsunade's strength was infinite, and in Konoha, breaking his wrist, no one was Tsunade's opponent at all. This can also give Tsunade a step down, and it can also make Yokaid not too embarrassed. Ye Feng suddenly smiled and said, this is not impossible? He remembered the episode in the anime where Tsunade and Thunder Kage duel and broke their wrists. That shocking scene. It's kind of interesting. Tsunade was originally very angry, and when he heard this, his eyes immediately lit up. Boy, do you dare to bet? I tell you, no one has ever won against me, yes? It seems that the current Tsunade has not been compared with Lei Ying. That wrist break, in the end, Thunder Shadow won. Tsunade's strength is greater, but Thunder Kage is faster and uses a small trick to win Tsunade. By now, this plot should not have happened yet.